The MTV show that Jon was on was a big, big hit, and I think MTV was surprised about how big a show it was. And that show was so successful on MTV that Viacom, which also owned Paramount at that time, then went out to syndicate that show. And I think that that's where they ran into a problem because of the syndication on it.
In the fall of 1994, when the Jon Stewart Show made the jump to syndication, the slacker vibe was replaced by a slick studio, killing some of the charm. Worse yet, Jon was up against Leno and Letterman in some markets, making his failure an almost foregone conclusion.
I do have one quick thing to say. I've got something to say to all those people who said that my show would never make it. Good call. Wow, how did you know that? That's amazing. Why didn't you tell me?
When you have something good like that, to take it out of its element, which MTV was kind of the element for that show, and then to put it into syndication and put it up against the establishment, you're bound to run into some problems.
With his show canceled, Jon needed a break from the small screen and a change of scenery. So the lifelong East Coast resident pulled up stakes and headed west.
In 1995, after his talk show was canceled, he headed out to Hollywood to try to make it in the movies. And this is something a lot of comics try to do, and it's really hard to be able to play a role when people look at you and think of you as yourself. If you look at someone like Jerry Seinfeld, his only role has been as Jerry Seinfeld on TV. You don't see him in movies playing other parts.
Things started slowly. Jon's part in the hit film The First Wives Club was left on the cutting room floor. His first lead was opposite Drew Barrymore in the critical and commercial bomb, Wishful Thinking. It was in fact a cameo in an unlikely vehicle that first got Jon noticed on the silver screen.
Have you ever seen the scent of a woman on weed? That's the way to see it, man. It's just whack.
$60, yo.
That's cool, man. I got it.
Half-Baked is probably Jon Stewart's finest movie hour. That sounds like an insult, but if you've seen Half-Baked, it's not an insult. It's, you know, that's a funny movie. You know, very, very, very much a cult comedy. I mean, it's a cult comedy for people who like cult comedies.
One of the interesting things about Half-Baked, it stars Dave Chappelle and has Jon Stewart in a minor role. And at the time, they were both people, actor, comedians that were kind of struggling. Neither of them had quite found the niche. And then, you know, 5 years or so later, they both end up on Comedy Central, which gives them, you know, this platform and The Daily Show and The Chappelle Show, you know, to really become these big, big national figures.
In 1998, Stewart appeared in Robert Rodriguez's teen horror film The Faculty and the romantic comedy Playing by Heart, both of which failed to tap Jon's potential.
You can almost hear the agents, you know, behind the scenes going, where do we put him? Where does he fit? He's so funny. Why can't we find a vehicle for him?
I mean, he was perpetually nearly famous in the 90s. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he was a young guy, clearly very funny. I mean, always very funny stand-up. I mean, not ugly, one would have to say, but it never really panned out for him.
The one role that Jon was a natural fit for came courtesy of another New York comedy club vet, Gary Shandling.
Larry Sanders Show was this brilliant take-up of late-night talk shows. Gary Shandling played Larry Sanders, who was clearly a kind of Johnny Carson. Jon Stewart played the kind of Joan Rivers intermittent replacement character to Larry Sanders.
You know, I mean, there's a danger, I guess, to doing something that sort of reinforces your initial failure on MTV, but, you know, I think it just reinforced the notion that the guy looks natural behind a desk like that.
Both on The Sanders Show and in his career, Jon was becoming known as the go-to substitute. Ironically, it would be his failure to land another hosting gig that would lead to his biggest success. In 1998, Jon Stewart had a series of flops and a cult hit under his belt. Not exactly a studio executive's idea of an A-list resume. However, Stewart's next role was guaranteed to be a box office smash.
Big Daddy was sort of his highest profile movie, I suppose, because it was an Adam Sandler movie.
In Big Daddy, Jon Stewart's definitely the straight man to Adam Sandler. Well, you'd have to say that pretty much, you know, unless you're Jack Nicholson, pretty much everybody is the straight man to Adam Sandler in an Adam Sandler movies.
Hey, congratulations. You and Big Boobs McGee are gonna be real happy.
Don't call her Big Boobs McGee.
You want to explain to your children you met their mother while she was waitressing at Hooters.
Sonny, that was 5 years ago. She's a doctor now. And my fiance, so from now on, Dr. Big Boobs McGee.
So I don't really think it displays, oh, that Jon Stewart, he was really great in Big Daddy. I mean, I think he's fine, you know, but it certainly doesn't showcase him. You know, it's a blockbuster film. You know, people just came out in droves to see Adam Sandler. John's fine in it.
Not only was the film a hit, its New York-based shoot allowed Jon to escape from L.A. Stewart never fit in with the Hollywood scene and was looking for ways to keep his career on the East Coast. Upon his return, Jon compiled a series of short stories and published them in his first book titled Naked Pictures of Famous People.
I remember thinking that he had to be quite an authentic talent to be able to write so prolifically. Like certain comics, you know them for 10 years and they'll basically get 20 good minutes together over those 10 years, and that's kind of what they keep returning to, you know? And other comics like Jon Stewart, it seems like they can't get it out fast enough.
The book became a bestseller, yet at 37 years old, Jon's career was at a crossroads.
He was kind of the lady-in-waiting for years, and everyone loved Jon Stewart and knew him tangentially or more directly through his work here and there, and, oh, this guy is brilliant, we need to find a place for him, and he just never kind of found it, and it was always this game of when is he going to be given his shot? When are they going to find the vehicle that's perfect for him?
The danger is that you do too many things and you just get pigeonholed so badly as the guy who's done terrible things one too many times. But I think that there was such a reservoir of goodwill for Stewart as a comedian, and so many people who knew that he could be funny in a show like the Jon Stewart Show on MTV, that it was only a matter of time before the industry evolved for him to have a place.
When it was announced that Tom Snyder was retiring as the host of Late Late Night on CBS, Jon once again found himself in position for a talk show hosting gig. And once again, Jon finished runner-up, this time to Craig Kilborn, host of The Daily Show. As a result, the fake anchor gig that Jon turned down 3 years ago was now open.
I remember when Kilborn was the host, I mean, he had a stage presence that he made up. I mean, he was a sports guy that they brought into that. I mean, he was a young, good-looking man, and they put him in there, and it kind of worked.
I mean, the Kilborn Show was basically a funny show for all the people who had made fun of Jon in high school. I mean, at the risk of being too polarizing about it, it was like the WASP version of The Daily Show, followed by, you know, the Jew version of The Daily Show. And, you know, as a Jew myself, I don't think it's any surprise that the Jew version was funnier.
Jon was offered and accepted the anchor post. The Daily Show was already a hit with a built-in audience, so producers were curious to see if viewers would accept the new host when he took over on January 11, 1999.